Welp, another Raw and another garbage episode of Raw, okay? And I know what you bot fans out there probably thinking, oh, well, how could you hate this episode? How could you hate it? John Cena with Cena. Listen, John Cena, his promo is going to get glazed because it was amazing, okay? Don't get me wrong. Him and Cody, they both did a pretty solid job. And John Cena did an amazing job. Cody was just solid, and the segment was good. But the problem is you have to look at things in their totality. The show is 2.5 hours. If I get one good segment and the other 5 or 6 segments are atrocious, then it doesn't matter. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. Also, you have to factor in John Cena. I think this is his last scheduled appearance before WrestleMania. So all you got from John Cena was back-to-back weeks of nothing burger promos, and then tonight you got a great promo, and then he got Crossroads and left in the ring, and now we're not going to see him until Mania. So was it really worth it? Was the 2 weeks of complaining about the fans worth it? You know what I mean? Was The Rock's involvement, alleged involvement in this storyline that's now just completely dissipated and disappeared and is leaving multiple plot holes with this stuff, is that worth it? No. But was the segment tonight great? Yes, in my opinion, I thought it was great, and we will glaze that shortly. Don't get me wrong, okay? John Cena was throwing some truth bombs that I've been throwing about Cody Rhodes, so that was good. But the main event tonight was atrocious. The women's title picture is an absolute and utter disaster. It's as simple as that. The storyline with Bianca Rhea and Io is convoluted. It's nonsensical. Nothing in it really is working, quite frankly. And the amount of botches in the main event, the absolute repetitive spots. The main event was a disaster, and it was the only bad Io Sky match I've ever seen. It was that bad, the main event was, okay? Then you also have to factor in that along with the awful main event, the matches and everything that took place was meaningless and developed absolutely nothing. We're 3 weeks from WrestleMania, and we have like 7 confirmed matches for a 2-night card. What are you going to get, 3 matches on night 1 and 4 matches on night 2? Like, come on. This is a disaster. How are you 2 weeks away from Mania and you have 7 confirmed matches? That lets me know that Triple H has no idea what he's doing and the booking is dictating that, okay? If you only watch the Cena and Cody segment and then watch the garbage main event that furthered that story in a worst way possible, you would have missed nothing on this Raw. What did you miss? If you just watched the Cena segment and watched the main event, the 2 hours in between that, what did you miss? Thank you. That lets you know that this Raw was absolute and utter garbage. You can have one great segment, but it's not enough. If I give you, you know what I'm saying, a great dessert at a restaurant, but everything else you ate was trash, you don't walk out of the restaurant saying the stuff that you had was amazing. You know, one thing was, but everything else was trash, and you have to look at the totality. Was there 1 or 2 good segments on this show? Absolutely. Was there some things that I thought were interesting? Sure. But was everything else absolute mediocre garbage and developed nothing 2 weeks before WrestleMania? Yes. Last year, 2 or 3 weeks before Mania, the hype was through the roof. You were getting peak segments left and right. The viewership was up. The hype was palpable. The excitement was palpable. Now you get one great segment and everything else sucks, and we're calling this Raw great. Because I know people are going to be calling this great. I'm just waiting for it at this point. And that's the issue with this Raw, is that it's too little too late. Everything that takes place that's anywhere near decent or good in this episode, it's like, why didn't we get this weeks ago? Jay and Gunther couldn't have had that blood-boiling segment weeks ago in advance, and then that way you can build it now with straight promos and segments and not these monotonous, meaningless matches. You know, John Cena on the mic with Cody Rhodes. It's like, why couldn't we get that segment the first time John Cena came back on Raw 2 or 3 weeks ago? And that way you could use the last 2 weeks to have a couple brawl segments here and there, or something to really cut even deeper on the mic maybe, and actually develop this feud. You would have had more time, rather than just rushing everything in and having one good segment, and now we're not going to see Cena and Cody in the ring together for another 3 weeks until Mania. Like, this just doesn't work. It's too little too late, so now everything's rendered meaningless. Now, obviously, first off was the John Cena and Cody Rhodes segment, okay? Before the promo even starts, we have all this Cody Rhodes, Cody Rhodes. We are bots, we do what we're told. You know what I'm saying? And this is discussed later in the promo to an extent, okay? These crowds over in Europe, man, they're either very annoying or very good. It's really no in between, okay? This is the first thing that we have to discuss. John Cena in this promo finally cut loose and uses the talking points that I've been saying on this channel for months about Cody Rhodes. It was about time that we did this, and quite frankly, was that me talking to Cody Rhodes or was it John Cena? You get what I'm saying? Like, John Cena did an absolutely phenomenal job here, and I think it's very fitting, you know what I'm saying? The fact that all these different things that I've been realizing about Cody Rhodes over the months that I've been saying, John Cena actually balled those up, put those into a promo, and the promo ended up being incredible. You understand? This just goes to show you, not only is Cody Rhodes probably one of the worst champions of all time, but I do have to give respect for Cody Rhodes. I respect you. I love you. You know what I'm saying? Cody didn't say any of that in this promo, and he actually did a decent job. He had a couple moments where I was like, what the heck is bro talking about? But this was a very interesting segment. Now, first off, we have to talk about what Cody was saying. Cody talks first and interrupts Cena before he can even say anything, and he basically says he's seen the discourse online about how John is gonna cook him on the mic, and then brings up the fact that there's multiple things to make fun of. And Cody obviously does this to kind of protect himself to an extent in advance, because he knows he's gonna get killed by John Cena in about 5 minutes, so he has to pretend and just, bring up stuff like the fact that he was Stardust. You can make fun of me for that. You can make fun of my lisp, all this stuff. And then we get to John Cena. Finally, The Rock has come back. You know what I'm saying? John Cena gets on the mic and says everything we've been wanting to hear for months. Yes! Oh, it felt great to hear this, okay? Just listen. John Cena basically says Cody has been protected. He's been protected by the system. He's been protected, you know what I'm saying, by the booking, obviously. He doesn't say word for word, but he says Cody's been protected in the industry, okay? And John Cena says he's not out here to talk about your lisp or stupid Stardust or any of your failures. I'm here to bury you, because everyone says John Cena buries talent, and John Cena's like, I am talent. And then John Cena drops an absolute bar. He says your ego outweighs your mediocrity. Yes! Thank you! Someone finally brings this up. Let me just continue, okay? We'll get to that in a second. He then basically says that Cody Rhodes has manipulated the company and manipulated the fans, and Cody Rhodes, all he is a chauffeur, because he used to be John Cena's chauffeur back in the day when they were on the road together. He says Cody is a chauffeur with a championship, and he says that Cody has gone from undeniable to underwhelming, man. What a bar. And then he basically says that Cody has proven that he can rehash lazy gimmicks and generic gimmicks from older wrestlers and then trick these fans into believing in your mediocrity as alleged greatness. John C. Thank you. Everything that needed to be said about Cody Rhodes has finally been said to the general public by someone who actually matters and is one of the all-time greats in the industry, okay? And outside of the entrance, John Cena says outside of your entrance and, the polish and your little pinstriped suit, you're mid. That's basically what he says. You're mediocre. And someone mediocre nowadays can have something meaningful and be praised by these bot fans. Man, yo, give it up. Absolutely insane. I was marking out when this happened live and I was watching this. I was actually yelling. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Finally, some greatness on the mic, okay? And I made a video about this last week, how Cody Rhodes is a protected jobber, who has nothing really of value or skill-wise to be in that top position, but because he has a catchy entrance, a cool theme song, the crowd chants his name, and so he's super over and he gets the belt. And something I realized after watching this promo as well, this new character of Cena hating the fans and hating Cody Rhodes and all this other stuff, this promo encapsulated all of it perfectly, because he called out the fans for being bots and jobbers and understanding that, the fans are basically accepting mediocrity. I was just talking about this in a video a few days ago. The fans accept anything nowadays. They accept mediocrity and garbage and praise it as if it's great. That's why Jey Uso, who botches in the ring, hasn't had a great, promo lineage as a singles competitor so far. But even with that, he's about to win a world title at Mania. And Cody Rhodes, who is Stardust, is now the WWE champion. Cena attacked Cody. He attacked the fans. Brilliant. And then John Cena brings up, he's like, I did too much for this industry and too much for that championship for it to be carried by some bum behind Nepo baby. You get me? And a Nepo baby who the crowd are bots, so they just chant his name for anything. And then obviously, as Cena's saying this, everything just shifts. John Cena calls Cody Rhodes an errand boy that got lucky, and the crowd is popping out of their minds for John Cena. You're getting Cena chants. Crowd's marking out. This was absolutely amazing moment, okay? Phenomenal. John Cena is clearly that dude, okay? His heel turn so far has been a disaster, don't get me wrong. But this specific segment tonight may have just changed the tide, because this was everything we needed. If we would have got this weeks ago, or like a week or two ago, it would have set everything in motion for us to do even more building, going forward. But I think this is Cena's last Raw before Mania, so I guess they had to get this out of the way. And for a second, it felt like the crowd had turned on Cody Rhodes. They saw someone expose him for the mediocre champion, the mediocre performer that he has been, and because of that, the crowd was chanting Cena and overshadowing Cody for a second. But then Dr. Libations, for the first time in a very long time, actually fought back on the mic. Now, I don't think this promo that Cody Rhodes cut was great, but I do think for his standards, it was solid because Cody needed to do something intense and he needed to go back at the claims that were said against Cena, and he did a solid job of doing so by firstly bringing up, you could say that I was cultivated by the industry and all this other stuff, but who's the man who chose you to be in the position that you were in, John Cena, and we don't talk about that man anymore. Basically saying that Vince pushed you and Vince chose you to be the guy, just like I was chosen to be the guy. Good line from Cody. He then says a very weird line. He's like, John Cena has more balls in this promo than he does in his jorts. And I was like, okay. You're like, what? This is when Cody just gets off the rails. Cody Rhodes usually in any of his promos that are solid or even good, which isn't many, but when he does do it, he usually says some really good things, but then says some things that are very odd. Like last year, he was talking about The Rock having a small set down there. I guess I'll just say that to keep it PG. You get what I'm saying? And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Very weird stuff from Dr. Libations, but you be careful going to that libation bus. You know what I'm saying? The final ditty, Cody's libations, John Cena's ball comments. I mean, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Cody Rhodes. You just got to be safe with this guy. Anyways, then Cody Rhodes says, John Cena, don't act like you left this place better than you found it. Okay, which was a kind of an interesting line there. Cody also asked Cena, he's like, two of us are in this ring, but only one of us sold out and sold their soul to The Rock, okay? And obviously they bring up The Rock for I don't even think it's the second or third time they've done this over the last like 3 or 4. Well, actually, no, they haven't really brought him up at all. And they bring him up here. Obviously, The Rock ain't coming out. We're not going to get any build in or any follow through with what happened with The Rock likely until Mania Night 2, if that. So, the whole thing with The Rock showing up and all this other nonsense and him being, the person Cena sold out to and us seeing none of him is very, just very stupid in my opinion, but it is what it is. And then he says, you're my hero, John Cena. I love you, John Cena. I need you, John Cena. But then he also says John Cena is also a piece of crap. You haven't said the S word, but, we keep it PG, you dig? And then John Cena gets back on the mic and he says Cody Rhodes is different from John Cena because Cena never had to be protected from every top guy on the roster on the mic in front of a live crowd. He never had to pull back any punches, but Cody has to be protected regardless. Absolute bars and absolute facts. And John Cena says that no matter what happens, no matter what garbage content is given to me, no matter who's in charge, whatever happens, no one can top me because no matter how many bad things I get, I will always make it great. This is why John Cena is arguably the greatest of all time. And John Cena ends it off by saying, I make empires for billionaires, and all you do is make money from their kids. And then Cody Rhodes, as John Cena's exiting the ring, he says, John, I've never had a crowd chant at me, you can't wrestle. And then John Cena, obviously I don't really care about this, quite frankly, because it's like, look, let's be real here. John Cena can obviously wrestle. Is he Shawn Michaels in the ring? No. But is he good in the ring? Obviously. You don't get to become one of the greatest of all time if you're just only good on the mic and bad in the ring. So he's obviously good. He's had multiple banger matches in his, 2-decade-long career at this point. So there you have it. But anyways, then Cena gets upset, acts like he's going to fight Cody, then pretends to walk away, then tries to fight back again, and then Cody counters him, crossroads him, and stands over John Cena, kind of making Cena look like a, little bit of a beta bum in this situation. But that's how the segment ends. This is by far the best segment of the year for WWE, okay? I don't think it's remotely close. This is their best crowning moment, and of course it was done by someone who is one of, if not the greatest of all time, and someone who is not in this current crop of garbage roster talent that we have now. It's John Cena, you get me? So I enjoyed this segment. I thought it was absolutely amazing, and this alone has gotten me slightly more hyped for this feud and for this match, okay? I'm intrigued, I'm now entertained, but I am not going to forget the fact that for the previous 2 or 3 weeks before this segment, we've been getting bombarded with garbage and filler nonsense for the last couple weeks, okay? Couple good moments in there with Cena stuff, but let's be real, the last 2 weeks have been atrocious, and this week happened to be phenomenal, so let's just hope they can, reride the ship, and maybe they can make this feud something really hype and really engaging and really exciting, before Mania, because we still have 3 weeks to go, or 2 weeks to go, and quite frankly, I don't think John Cena's showing up again, so you got this week, and that's all you got, so we'll see what happens next, but this segment was phenomenal. Cena said everything he needed to say, he said everything that I've been saying, and quite frankly, it's all true. We're all seeing it in front of our faces, and if John Cena's saying it, it's pretty legit, so there you have it. After this, we got the New Day versus the New Catch Republic returning, okay? Tyler Bate is officially back. No one really cares about this. This is what I mean mean when I say that Raw gave you one great thing and everything else was absolute and utter trash. Okay, they go against the New Day. The New Day obviously predictably wins this match. It's cool to see Tyler Bate back. I guess there were some decent moments here, some decent spots. They're calling Tyler Bate the big strong boy. I call him the big strong jobber. So that's all you got there. And then at the end of this, after the New Day wins, they get interviewed on the ramp. They talk to Kathy Kelly and they're like, you know what, we're going for the tag team championships, because all of a sudden, boom, something clicked in New Day's head that, yeah, maybe after we turned heel 4 months ago, maybe we should finally try and actually win something of value, you know what I'm saying? And then this is how it is. The New Day has done nothing since that amazing heel turn, and they've been wasting time fighting Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio and LWO. It's a disaster. It really is. They've wasted 3 or 4 months, and now, oh my gosh, we're 2 weeks from Mania, and the New Day's doing nothing, and they're probably the best tag team we have on Raw. Oh, well, let's just throw them in a match with the War Raiders and have them win the belts. That's all this is. You know, the New Day have been absolutely squandered, a great heel turn squandered for 4 months of nothing. And now all of a sudden you want to give them the tag belt opportunity versus the War Raiders. This should have happened 2 months ago. That's the problem with this Raw. It's a lot of too little, too late. That's all it is. You get 1 or 2 good things here and there, and then everything else sucks, and you realize you wasted 3 or 4 months. And this episode proves it from top to bottom. So New Day's going for the tag belts. No one cares about this anymore. You wasted your time now with these dudes. You should have had them go for the tag belts. They should have been the tag team championship match of the Royal Rumble, not DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns Part 15. That's just the way I see it. Anyways, then we get to Jimmy Uso versus Gunther. Okay, this is actually a pretty solid match. There was some good selling here. I thought that the actual in-ring work rate from both of them was pretty solid in my personal opinion. Obviously, Gunther wins this match in about like 5 to 10 minutes, and he kind of keeps toying with Jimmy Uso as the match goes along. Like Jimmy Uso was already knocked out for the 3 count, but Gunther keeps beating him up, and then finally makes him pass out with the headlock. Then Jey Uso comes out to try and save his brother. He's temporarily, he brawls with Gunther a little bit. Gunther runs away, okay? And then after this happens, Jay comes out, he helps Jimmy away, they kind of walk away, and then Gunther runs back out of nowhere, beats them up, gets the security, starts beating up the security guards, which was good, and then he zip ties Jey Uso to the rope and has him watch as Jimmy Uso gets absolutely destroyed. Jimmy is bloodied up, he's busted open, he gets destroyed as Jey Uso watches, and Jey Uso's cursing at Gunther, like saying all kinds of different words, I'm saying? Upset, pissed off, angry, all that stuff, and Gunther rubs Jimmy Uso's blood on his body, chops Jimmy, beats the crap out of him, all as Jey Uso watches. This is the first time honestly, it's been like at least a year plus so at this point since Gunther has actually felt like this much of a threat as he does after this promo. But then you realize he was in a close match with Otis. He was in a close match with Tozawa. Okay, this dude got pinned by Sami Zayn at WrestleMania last year. And once you put that into perspective, you realize that none of this matters. And Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble on Royal Rumble on February 1st, okay? And it's now going to be April 1st. And you mean to tell me that in 2 months, this is the only notable or solid segment in this entire feud? Are you kidding me? This isn't enough. I don't care that this segment was decent, because quite frankly, it doesn't matter. Does this make me any more excited for this match or this feud? No, because Jey Uso has 2 more Raws to build this Mania, and so far him and Gunther have done essentially nothing. So what are they going to do now? What, you have 2 weeks to do nothing? That's it? What, even if you do cut 1 good promo, that's cute. 3 months for 1 good promo and 1 beatdown segment that actually mattered, and the rest has just been nonsensical brawl segments that are wasting our time? This feud sucks. I don't care that this segment was decent. Who cares? Let's be honest here. What does this change? The last 2 months were absolutely wasted time, and we're seeing that. This segment should have happened a while ago. That's as simple as that's the same thing with Cena and Cody's segment tonight. That should have happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, and everyone knows it. So this is just embarrassing at this point. Gunther now finally looks like a threat 2 weeks before he's probably going to lose this belt at WrestleMania. So I don't really care about this. It was a solid segment, don't get me wrong. It was definitely engaging and entertaining. It's a solid segment, don't get me wrong, obviously, okay? But the problem is that this happened too little too late. This means nothing now 1 or 2 weeks from Mania. It's over at this point. And then we get one of the dumbest things that I've seen on Raw in months, and that's saying something because there's been some doozies going on. Braun Breaker and Penta are fighting Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor. Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor ultimately win this match because Braun accidentally spears Penta. But the question is, why is this match happening? Why is Braun Breaker teaming with the dude he was just fighting a week ago? Huh? Isn't Braun Breaker supposed to be a heel? But now he's like a tweener. He's like an anti-hero because WWE, they have no idea what to do with Braun Breaker. They don't know if he's a face. They don't know if he's a heel. They don't book him to be on TV that often. He wrestles 1 match every 4 or 5 weeks until the last couple weeks, of course, right? And then on top of that, he cuts no promos. He does nothing. He was backstage with AJ Styles with a cowboy hat on, and then all of a sudden he goes from that to now, oh, wait, he might feud with Ludwig again. No, wait, now he's feuding with Penta. No, wait, now it's going to be a forced fatal four-way with Finn Balor, who gets pinned by everyone, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. That's it. The Judgment Day storyline has dragged on long enough, and it sucks. It's the same stuff. Oh, who's going to turn on who? We don't like Finn. When you listen to Finn, you win. This feud is garbage. That's all it is. Nothing is developed here. We're 2 weeks from Mania, and there's nothing set in stone for the Intercontinental Championship. This is a disaster in the making. I don't care about this segment, and I don't care about this match. What does this do? You know, the match in ring-wise, yeah, there was some decent spots here and there, but who cares? Who cares? Braun Breaker's out there looking like Annoying Orange, going out every week spearing people and barking. That's it. That's all they reduced him down to. He's got talent on the mic, he's talented in the ring, all that stuff, and all you can reduce him to is a dude who comes out and spears people and barks. So that just shows you how great of a booker Triple H is. You know, let Papa H cook, allegedly, you know. What a joke. And then we get Logan Paul and AJ Styles in their segment. I actually thought this was a pretty decent segment. This is easily, you know, along with the Cena segment, this is probably the best part of the night, these two things. And then the Jimmy Gunter brawl thing with Jay was actually okay as well. Outside of those 2 or 3 things, which quite frankly, the Jay Gunter brawl, like I said, it was just solid. It wasn't anything great. And this Logan and AJ Styles segment wasn't great either. It was just okay, you know, and then the Cena segment was great. So you had 1 great thing and 2 decent things and 3 horrendous things, and one of them is very pivotal. The women's world title picture being that horrendous is really a problem. But anyways, Logan and AJ Styles go out there, and Logan Paul has this new gimmick where he's like, I'm so humble. I'm so humble. I'm so humble. You know, that's his whole thing, his whole new theme. And Logan Paul basically comes out there. He's like, AJ Styles, I actually forgive you, okay? And then AJ Styles is like, I don't care about your forgiveness. And then AJ Styles basically says, you know, he basically says, I forgive you, Logan Paul, for being an absolute jerk, you know, the biggest jerk to come in WWE or whatever the heck he said. And then at the end of this, AJ Styles says, no one cares about your money and all this other fame and all this other stuff. These fans care about what you're willing to sacrifice inside of this ring for them, okay? And that's all that matters. And Logan Paul Logan Paul gets on the mic and just starts going on a rant about how everyone in there in London is broke and poor and losers and jobbers. And this is pretty cool. You know, this is cool. He just calls out the fans and just starts trashing them in front of AJ Styles, who just said that stuff about the fans, so that was cool. And all this culminates in a little brawl segment between the two. And then, what's it called? Logan Paul hits the pulverizer, I should say. Great finisher. Looks amazing, okay? This finisher is great. Logan Paul's a specimen in the ring, you understand? And he's also very, very good, you know what I'm saying, on the mic usually. I don't know what's happened recently. He's been kind of mid on the mic the last month or two, but Logan Paul tonight was decent on the mic, and I thought he did an entertaining job. Him and AJ did an entertaining thing here, but their match at WrestleMania is basically for nothing. It'll be a 10 to 15 minute banger match literally for nothing, and Logan Paul will likely get the pin. So, you know, there you have it. Then we get to the main event. This main event was absolutely embarrassing. I mean, this is the first Io Sky match that I've seen that I genuinely would consider a bad match. It was just bad. You had 1 or 2 decent moments, and the rest of this match, 80% of it was botches, garbage, nonsensical, and just replayed spots over and over and over again. Contract signings mean nothing now. Elimination Chamber winners like Bianca Belair means nothing, because people like Roman Reigns, for example, right, or Seth Rollins or CM Punk, who have won nothing in months, they just get to be in the main event of WrestleMania night 1. And then Rhea Ripley, who's done absolutely nothing. She lost her match to Io Sky clean. You know what I'm saying? It was her fault she lost the match. And all of a sudden, she gets to force her way back into a triple threat. And again, Rhea Ripley is booked like she's Superman. She knocks out Io Sky with the Riptide, I think it was, and then knocks down Bianca Belair with 2 different Riptides as the crowd, for some reason, chanting for Rhea Ripley to hit another Riptide on Bianca. It's like, what is this anymore? This is so stupid. You know, Rhea Ripley just gets booked like Superman, and the person who actually has the belt, Io Sky, gets made to look like a third wheel, third fiddle jobber. This is embarrassing. Why give Io the belt if you were going to do this? And I said this after she won the belt. I was like, they're going to make her a transitional champion who has nothing to do, and this episode is going to be garbage. That is exactly what's going to happen. And sure enough, or not this episode, I meant this reign is going to be garbage. And that's exactly what happened. The reign has been trashed, and it's been plagued with her basically playing third fiddle to people who should be beneath her because she has the world title and Bianca and Rhea have nothing. That's how it should be. But instead, we get this match. We have the classic roll-up segments they do in the roll-up sequence they do in every single woman's match. You know, oh, I rolled you up for a pin. Oh, I rolled you up for a pin. Oh, I rolled you up. And then the crowd pops like a bunch of seals and bots. That's all it is. This is embarrassing at this point. And then the countless amount of botches. The botches outside the ring on the poison Rana that Io was trying to hit. You know, the botches when they were up on the turnbuckle together. The botches when they were doing the little fake looking punches where Rhea was just completely missing. And, you know, they would have moves where you could clearly tell Io and Rhea didn't know exactly what to do. Because all these women's matches are just heavily rehearsed, it feels like. And the fact that Io had a great match with Bayley, who has had really bad matches over the last year. You know, she had a great match with Bayley at last year's Mania. And now she's reduced to being in the ring with Rhea Ripley, who is allegedly, you know, the top woman star in the entire company, you know what I'm saying? And quite frankly, nothing I've seen proves that. Her promos aren't good, they're boring and repetitive, and quite frankly, her matches have been pretty mid. She only has 5 or 6 Raw matches in the last 500 days, and I'm not even joking, you can look it up for yourself. That's all she's got. That's it. But somehow the people who are actually being the workhorses, developing the division, I should say, sorry, and building it and wrestling consistently in good matches are the ones getting booed. Like Bianca was getting booed last week. You know, it's just, none of this stuff makes sense. Rhea Ripley lost her belt, you know, and she should be sat down and not winning anything. She shouldn't be at WrestleMania in a main event match. Go fight for the IC belt with Lyra Valkyria. Do that. There's no reason for her to be in this match, but she's forced in regardless. The match ends up with Bianca getting hit multiple times by Io, and then get hit by Rhea, and then gets hit by Io, and then by Rhea. Just a bunch of ref bump spots. Very stupid stuff. And then it ends up with a double disqualification. Rhea gets mad and then riptides them both. And the thing I don't get about any of this, there was a point in this match where Rhea Ripley was literally, she riptided Io Sky, and then, Io Sky was just knocked out for the 3 count, you know, and then for some reason, Rhea booted Bianca out of the ring, and then after she boots Bianca out of the ring, she ripties Io and goes for a pin. Why would you go for a pin when you just saw the referee get kicked out of the ring? None of this stuff makes any sense. It's just so stupid, man. And it ends with a brawl segment. Rhea stands tall as per usual after knocking both of them down, and that's it. This will probably set up a triple threat being confirmed next week or the week after. I'm done with this. This Raw was absolute and utter garbage. It was nonsensical. Nothing really worked for me here except for 2 different things, and that was the Jay and Gunther segment and the Cena segment. But again, Cena ain't gonna get Cena again until Mania. So why does it matter? No one knows. So this Raw was a waste of time. We're 2 weeks before, we have 2 Raws left before WrestleMania, and we have nothing to show for any matches or any feuds. So that just lets you know everything you need to know about WrestleMania season and about how Triple H has no idea what he's doing. This episode gets a 4 or 5 out of 10 max. This was absolute garbage. I'm giving it a 4 now. Yeah, we're giving this episode a 4 out of 10, and it's as simple as that. I don't care what anybody says. Enjoy the ride that CJX is taking you on. Thanks for watching. Have a phenomenal day, and peace out.